Hi friends, welcome to Harmony Hills Home and Garden. I'm Jenny and we live and garden in Baltimore, Maryland, Zone 7. Today's project is to plan out the zones for my DIY drip irrigation system. I'm installing my own drip irrigation. I got started last year with a little bit and I did a little bit more earlier this spring, but now it's time to put together a master plan so that I don't make more mistakes than necessary and so that I can get the supplies that I need. So come with me in this video and let's talk about planning for your own DIY drip irrigation system. A couple of weeks ago, I laid out new drip irrigation out in my north front lawn shrub border, but I didn't hook it up to the water system yet. It's just laying there ready to be hooked up, but I haven't actually tested it or used it at all since I did that. I've been waiting to get my tunneling under my sidewalks completed. Well, guess what? That's still not completed, but I'm going to go ahead and proceed, and I'm going to lay out my drip irrigation supply lines on top of my sidewalks for the short term while I work on getting them tunneled underneath the sidewalks. So with that in mind, I'm going to start planning the larger picture of the whole property of where I'm going to have different zones for what purpose and where the supply lines need to go and so forth. Now, I only have 2 water spigots coming out of my house. I have one in the front yard on the south side of the sidewalk, the front walk, and then I have one in the backyard that's right on the back of the house underneath the kitchen window, right beside our grill. It's outside the fence and it's inside a little area where a paver sidewalk was laid several years ago. So with only those 2 spigots to work with, I need to figure out how I'm going to get my supply lines laid out, use my controller to have more than one zone in each of the spigots, and then I'm just get everything installed. So that's my planning portion of this morning. I'm trying to draw out on my property map the zones that I'm going to have and for what purpose they're going to be used. I'm starting with this Plat Map. Actually, this is the basis of this was the Plat Map from when we bought our house. So you can see this is our house here, front walk, the 2 little welcome gardens. This is the new front shrub border that we just installed this year. These are the front south and north foundation beds that I've been working on for the last year or so. This is the fence line that goes across the front of the house. This is the north side shade garden right here and the patio with the table on it. And then this is the paver sidewalk that goes around down to the driveway. And here is the backyard layout, roughly. It's not 100% perfect, but it's pretty close. Over here is the driveway, and this is the woody hill by the driveway. We have grass that starts approximately right here. This is the south side of the house that we haven't really done much gardening on. And then this is the front corner garden of our property. So with that in mind, knowing that roughly this is where I currently have gardening bed, also back here behind the fence. I drew the fence right at the top of the paper, but behind the fence we have 15 more feet of our property that does have plantings in it that does need to have water. So I need to plan that as well. So with that in mind, my first hose spigot is right here on the front of the house on the south side of the property. And then the other spigot is right here on the back side of the house, but it's inside this little area where the paver walkway is. So it's cut off from the main property by this paver walkway. And this spigot is cut off from this side of the front yard by this paver walkway. So what I'm going to be doing is laying out the supply line just right across the front, right in front of the front step. And then back here, I'm probably going to run it along the house up here and then across in front of this step that goes down from the porch. And that'll keep it mostly out of the way of foot traffic until such time as I can get the tunnel completed under this sidewalk and under this sidewalk. Okay, so I know that I want to have more than one zone. Ideally, I'd like to have 3 zones of drip irrigation on the front and 3 zones of drip irrigation on the back. And what that will do is give me an opportunity to I have a 4-zone controller, and so 3 zones of drip irrigation and 1 zone just for my regular hose. So this is roughly where we have garden beds and planting areas and structures and so forth. So what I did was I traced all those outlines onto a piece of tracing paper. And now I can plan out my zones. So in an ideal world, I'd like this side of the property in the front to be on one zone, and I'd like this side of the front yard to be on a second zone, and I'd like to have this area over here available for a zone in the future when I end up planting this up and making this into something more of a garden area. I'd like to have this shady areas of the backyard, all of this over here on the north side yard, plus down a little bit down this side of the backyard. All of that is a shade garden area, and I'd like to have that on the same zone because the plants need roughly the same water. And then back here, I'd like to split this. We'll have the south side of it all along the fence, all the way down to the bottom, and this garden area behind here on one zone. And then we'll have this side of the fence from about halfway down the lawn down to the back, including back behind the fence over to about roughly midway here. And that would be a zone. So let me draw those in and get back to you. Okay, I've drawn in my zones. And let me describe to you what I have. I'm gonna put the back behind it because it makes it more confusing. All right, so the backyard is the easiest one to draw. So zone 1 is gonna be this area that's down in this, this northeast corner of the backyard, including the area that's behind the fence back there. Zone 2 is going to be all the shade areas of the side yard and the backyard, and it's going to include a little bit of the courtyard garden in that I'm going to put the containers that are in the courtyard garden onto this zone because they need watering as much as the shade plants over here. Now, the reason the shade plants are connected to this, you'd think that they might not need the same amount of water because this is shade and this is more sun. But really, this is dry shade under trees. So these plants need more water so that the trees don't steal all the water from them. So they're gonna get watered pretty frequently, and so will those containers. So those are on the same zone here. And then the third zone is the rest of the courtyard garden, stuff that's in the ground, and all down along here. Okay, the front yard gets a little bit confusing. I think earlier I said I wanted 1, 2, 3 different zones in the front, but actually I've decided I'm gonna do one zone here on this side, the north side. I'm gonna do one zone over here, and right now it'll just include this part, but in the future it'll be expandable over to whatever I put on the south side of the yard. And then the third zone on the front is actually gonna be just a container zone. So I'm gonna have to run to the window boxes. I have 2 planters on the fence. I have 1 planter over in the garden right now. I have the 3 front purple and white planters this year. And then I'd also like to run a line out to this front, the welcome garden out by the lamppost. So 3 zones in the back, 3 zones in the front. Again, the access to the water are all, 3 of them will come off right there, and 3 of them will come off right there. All right, so now that I know where the zones are and what purpose they're serving, that's the information I needed to be able to plan where my supply lines have to go when they come off of the hose out into the garden. Where do the supply lines need to go? So let's take a look at where I need to run supply lines. Specifically, I'm concerned about where under or over for now the sidewalks I need to run how many supply lines. Looking at the backyard, again, my faucet is right here, and this is a brick walkway right here, and it continues all the way over here. So I'm gonna have to run 3 different supply lines underneath this sidewalk. My plan is to run a tunnel roughly right there, but I haven't completed that yet. That's a whole other long story. So for now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run, what am I gonna do? I need to get 1 line over to here and 2 lines over this way. So I think I'm gonna run along the house, around the corner, and across right under the lip of the steps that go up onto the front porch. And I'll have 2 lines there. So one of the lines will serve this red zone number 2, And then one of these 2 lines will just be drawn down here to access zone number 1. For zone 3, I'm going to run a supply line. I don't know yet. I'll come back to that. Okay. And then for the front yard, I need a supply line over here for zone 4, and I need a supply line over here for zone 6, which are the container zones. So I'm going to have to run 2 supply lines across the front step here, the front of the house. So 2 half-inch lines will go across there. And then the third zone out here, zone number 5, I don't need to go under any sidewalks or anything. So, all right, so I need to run 2 supply lines across the front steps here, 2 supply lines around this corner and across that step there. And then what am I going to do about this last zone? I'm going to have to play around with it and find a place that I can lay a half-inch pipe across the sidewalk and it won't be a huge problem until I get this tunnel done. I might just run it right along the fence, and so when you open the gate to go through the gate, maybe you just have to be aware that you're stepping over a hose there. I mean, that's certainly not perfect for safety considerations. You don't really want to be running a line of any kind across any pathway. But it's really just me and my husband who use that gate, and I think that we can handle having a half-inch pipe run across that. Considering how often I just leave the garden hose out there anyway, you know, it's just kind of like life is normal. All right, I've changed working locations. I've been working on a little bit of a zoomed-in approach for laying out the tubing for the containers. So let me show you what I've got. My highest priority for installing drip right now is to get all of the front containers taken care of so that I don't have to hand water during a hot spell like I had to this past weekend. So this is a zoomed in view of this part of the plan. Okay, so this is the house, front porch, window box, hose with the 4-way timer on it. Okay, so the red lines are the zone 6 for the front containers. So I'm going to be taking off of one of these things. I'm going to bring a half-inch feed line kind of down in front of these 2 containers that are the blue pots, and then along the sidewalk all the way down to here, and then I'll use 1/4-inch drip to make a coil for this front sidewalk. I then also will tee off of this half-inch drip line coming across here, up to the house and across underneath, along the front of the house, under the window box, behind the shrubs, across this path, I'll tie in with 1/4-inch drip into the pots that are hanging on the fence gate. And then again, half-inch tube coming across this path over to the white urn that I put the gomphrena in, and that'll connect in with 1/4-inch. So all the supply line is going to be half-inch, and then all of the connections into the pots themselves will be 1/4-inch. So I use 1/4-inch supply into the pot, and then 1/4-inch drip. Same thing here. I'll tap off 1/4-inch supply line off of the half-inch supply line and bring it up into the window box. But I'll probably actually do it over here behind the shrubs that are here, just to hide it. And then also I need to bring this line, that supply line, this way so that I can catch this container that's on the front there and then run it down along the sidewalk out to this other front. This is where the front walk lamppost is. So that's going to be my plan. So I'll use 1/4-inch drip to go off into this window box, 1/4-inch drip to go off into these 2 containers, 1/4-inch off into this container, same thing on this window box, these 2 fence pots, and this gomphrena urn. And half-inch supply line everywhere. And when I get down to these, it'll be 1/4-inch coil. So let me talk now about zone 4, which is the north front flower beds. These are not containers, these are just everything in the ground. So I'm going to run a line for zone 4 across in front of the front porch. I have to cross the pathway over into this flower bed here. So I've got a T here. I'll bring a supply line over into this area for these bed plants, and then tee off and come over into this area for the front garden here. Again, this is just showing the supply lines right now. And then I'm going to come over here and connect into where I've already laid out all this drip on this supply line. I'm just going to connect it right here. And so from the sidewalk, up the shrub border, across the front foundation, and back into this foundation bed, across the front porch over to the supply. Off of these supply lines, I'll be running a 1/2-inch drip line in a grid pattern. I don't know exactly how it's going to be, and it doesn't matter for the purpose of this drawing. I'm really worried most right now about the supply line for this drawing. And then the easiest one of all is zone 5, which is the south side of the front yard. All I'm going to do is come off of the timer, and then I'm just going to make a T. I'm going to cap it off, end it here, and then I'll do my drip lines off of that supply line in this area. In the future, when I want to expand around the front yard into the side yard, that's still part of this zone. So I'll be able to just expand on this line and take it around the house back into that area back there. Hey everybody, it's Editing Jenny here. I was putting together this video about drip irrigation and it turned out to be really too long. So I'm going to split it up. I'm going to end this one here talking about the planning of the zones. And then in future videos, I will show you the installation of the container drip zone, plus more information about installing the drip zones in the other areas of the garden. So thanks for joining me here today. Keep your eye on this channel for more information about drip irrigation. I'd like to remind each of you that I do have an affiliate link with dripdepot.com. So if you need to buy drip irrigation supplies, and if you choose to do it through my affiliate link at no cost to you, I would get a little bit of a commission on that sale. But of course, you don't have to do that. There's no obligation or no expectation that you would do that. So I just wanted to make that little reminder. How many of you have already installed drip irrigation of your own or are thinking about it but just haven't gotten started yet? Let's have a conversation in the comment section down below about do-it-yourself drip irrigation. Have you found it to be easy? Did it take a little bit of learning to get over a little bit of a learning curve? Or is it something that you found just too much for you and you let the professionals do it? Let me know and let's chat about it and share our experiences. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I'll see you again real soon, friends. Thanks. Bye-bye.